G-thoughtz.
Wherefore art thou? Wherefore art thou?
So here I am, beautiful day, blue skies, some clouds, but they add some depth and beauty to the landscape that surrounds me. I'm outside, walking down my neighborhood, back with the parents again after the divorce. It's a whole thing. This is a dead-end street, and it's pretty peaceful. I get to walk down it whenever I want. And right now I decided I could go for a walk. Part of what it means to be free, I guess. Didn't have to work today, but I will tomorrow. But I'm not living for tomorrow, I'm living for right now. And right now I'm free. Hasn't always been that way. I'll get to that in a second. I had to think about the moments when I never felt free. There's different ways of not feeling free. Sometimes you don't feel free in your thoughts. Thoughts cripple you, cage you. They hold you back. Same thing with emotions. I think they share the same desk in my mind. Shooting paper airplanes at each other. Spitballs, but always having fun. They get each other. One is usually louder than the other. And then other times, there's the lack of freedom by the situation that you're in. And basically that situation cages you. It imprisons you. You can't change it. And the only way out of that prison is thinking of it in a different light. Changing your perspective on it. Your thoughts towards it. As they say, there's only two things you can do in life when given any situation. Or presented with any given situation. Either change that situation or change your perception of it. That's it. And it reminds me of a situation where I was stuck in, literally. Talking about being caged and imprisoned. I literally, for the first time, and hopefully last, was imprisoned. Albeit for only 3 hours. I'll get to that in a second. The feeling of literally being imprisoned is much different than that in your mind or in the perception of your reality, your situation. Because you could literally do something about your situation, or better yet, your perception of it. You have that control in your mind. But when you're literally in prison, that's a whole other thing. This story starts back on September 29th, 2024. I was at work, doing our thing. Coworker was near me, doing his thing. I won't need to go into detail. Let's just say we were working. And a customer was near him, not too far, an earshot from me, but I wasn't listening, wasn't paying attention. She said something interesting to him, so much so he came back, he was chuckling, muttering to himself. And I remember thinking, what's so funny? We'll call him Jay. I said, hey, Jay, what's so funny? He goes, what the customer told me. He then proceeded to share with me that she uttered something along the lines of, be wary of October 1st. Something's gonna come. Be prepared. And we both joked. It's only a couple days away. What kind of prophet was this lady that she was forecasting imminent doom for the world? I thought nothing of it. We laughed it off. I went home. Well, 2 days later, a day that will live in infamy in my life at least, yet another day that I will never forget the date, 10/1/24. There comes a knock at my parents' door. I was outside, living the free life, underneath the porch, sitting at a bench, and doing my thing. I was creating something, some sort of art, something along the lines of prose or a drawing or something. And truth be told, at the time, I was trying to fight through a lot of anxiety, so there may or may not have been a newly legal substance in my state that I was imbibing or smoking. Green means go, baby. And I had just imbibed, and I was feeling calm. And then my dad comes out and says, "There's some police officers here to see you." Instantly, my anxiety woke up. My thoughts and my emotions stepped aside. Anxiety stood up, and just like me, walked upstairs to see 3 police officers at our door. At first, I thought the worst. Did something happen? I even questioned one of them. I said, "Is everything okay, officer?" And before he could answer, I said, "Is everything okay with my family?" Thinking this was like something out of a movie. Like maybe something happened to my ex-wife. And maybe I instantly went there. Do they think that I did it? Is that why they were here? To question me? He quickly confirmed nothing was wrong. They were fine. But then, after going back and forth a little bit, he confirmed for me that they had to take me away. I had violated the terms of my restraining order with my ex-wife via text 9 months earlier. Why it took that long, I don't know. It's irrelevant to this story. But I did. I sent a text. I was dumb. A couple days after being served the restraining order, I sent a text that I shouldn't have. I can't speak about most states and how they view restraining orders, but I know mine doesn't fuck around. And though it took them 9 months to get around to it, they had to hold me accountable, and they took me away. I remember at that moment, my anxiety wasn't the only thing kicking in. So was the green. And I felt claustrophobic to be put in handcuffs. And actually, I was barefoot. My dad had to run and grab my shoes. It was not a great scene. One that I'll never forget, and for good reason. I remember being put in the back of the patrol car and feeling like a dog. I remember begging the police officer, who was very kind, if he could put down the window, because I felt like I was dying. I felt like the walls of the car were caving in. So much so, they might as well put me in the trunk or buried me under 6 feet of dirt. It felt no different. I was freaking out. I'd never been arrested before. I didn't know what it felt like. I didn't know what it meant to be detained and have my freedom literally be taken away from me. It felt like the longest car ride I'd ever been on. Every stop between my house and the police station, which was literally 5 minutes away, felt like an hour. Every breath felt like an eternity. I gasped the air like it was going away somehow. I couldn't believe what I was going through. When we got into the police department, you go in through a big door, still in the back of the cruiser, and the doors close behind you like your finality, your tomb. Concrete bricks all over, the cold, sterile walls, and the echoing of the footsteps of the police officer coming around to open the door, giving me some reprieve, getting me up and out of that back of the cruiser. But then my relief quickly turned to desperation when he put me in a tight cell by myself with the bars, the whole thing. Looks like a movie. There was a small window about 7 feet up in the back of the cell, and the window let a little light in. I started to freak out, and I said to myself, there's one of two things you could do, kid, and one of them isn't changing the situation. So change your attitude, focus, breathe. So I closed my eyes, sat crisscross applesauce on the bench, and began to meditate. I knew my parents were going to figure out a way to bail me out, and they were just working towards it. And those 3 hours that I was in there for felt like 3 years. It was excruciating. So many thoughts were going through my mind. I had to get them all out. I needed it to be just me in that jail cell and nothing else. No thoughts, no emotions, no anxiety. So I cleared out my head. And of course, just like something out of a movie, the police officer who was sitting on the outside, leaning back in his chair with his hands behind his head, watching a little television. He's watching baseball, the Mets game. And no, I'm not going to make a joke about that being more torture to listen to the Mets, but it didn't help. While I was trying to calm myself and breathe and meditate, I was hearing the Mets struggle against whatever the team they were playing. I thought someone else is going through an equal hell as mine somewhere, but at least they're free. Still, they can't change the situation of watching the Mets lose either. Finally, after getting my breathing under control, I was able to get to a calm place. I envisioned myself floating out of that window, floating away, and still tethered to a string as if I was a heart-shaped balloon to a child's wrist, knowing I was still in the cell. But at least the illusion of freedom inside my mind was what was keeping me alive and sane. I eventually was transferred to another location over the course of those 3 hours, another horrible car ride, another cell. Actually, that police officer was nice enough to keep me without handcuffs, sitting in a chair as he processed me. And we talked. Great guy. Very cordial. Again, just doing his job. And I respected that. Got my mugshot. No, I didn't smile. And we talked. And finally, my parents came to bail me out. And that was that. 3 hours of hell. A lifetime of a lesson in one moment. But here's what I learned. Among many lessons, was the simple fact that I finally, for the first time in my life, lost my freedom. I literally was not free. Even though in my head and in my reality, I've experienced moments where I felt so trapped and claustrophobic, but not like this. This was lit, the literal, and I had to go deep into my mind to survive it. I instantly started thinking of caged dogs. I thought to myself, if I ever have a dog again, I'll never cage him. I'll never crate him. How can they survive? Imagine that. What animals must feel like. I know they don't have the same consciousness as we do, or the same perception of reality, but for God's sake. I felt like a dog in the backseat of the car, the cruiser. It was terrible. On the way home, I just kept thinking to myself, I need to go outside and value what I have. I took it for granted. Then I started thinking about all the people that are in jail right now. Imagine what it must mean to have a life sentence. That feeling I had wouldn't be 3 hours. It could be 30 years. Imagine that. And then I took it a step further. Imagine being someone who was thrown in jail for a crime you didn't commit. Now, I don't want to make a comment about our penal system. That's a whole other pod or a whole other journal entry. But all these things have the same thing in common. The removal of freedom, your ability to decide your fate and where you travel literally along that path. It's been decided for you until someone changes their mind or the situation changes on its own. Or for a blank space, I'll leave a blank space there. You put whatever you want. I couldn't change it. That power was taken away. And it brings me to the freedom that I often think about. The freedom that we have a thought. And what is creating that thought? I'm walking right now. I've kind of done a couple laps on my street. I'm free physically, but I'm still trapped in my mind, am I not? My only way out is kind of talking through the metaphorical prison cell of my mind and expressing my freedom through my energy and my thoughts and my emotions through this piece. But literally, I'm trapped in my head, am I not? I mean, the Egyptians thought that the soul was trapped in the pineal gland, kind of like that little egg or snow globe in the middle of your brain. And this illusion of freedom, this theater of our mind that's creating this reality that keeps us from thinking or realizing that we're trapped in there, much like when I was trapped in that prison cell. I closed my eyes and imagined a reality that was not where I was, literally. And for 3 hours, I was flying. I was someplace else. And it worked. Now, I can't imagine that I would be able to do that for 30 straight years. That's a whole other problem. But I've been doing it for 48 years. And that's not a problem. That's my reality. And that's yours too. We are all trapped somewhere in our mind, whether or not you think it's the pineal gland or somewhere else. hey, if you think you're caught in your big toe, then just don't step on yourself or bang it on a kitchen counter or a kitchen cabinet or what have you. Nah, metaphors. But what is metaphor if not for you to take it to a different level and think outside of your situation, outside of the box, so to speak? Not to be corporate here, but when you think on levels, the lit, the meta, and the lit meta, you realize we're all caged in some way, shape, or form. Much like the eagle thinking he's free. It's just a figure of his, or illusion of his mind, the theater of his reality, his perception. Because he's stuck in the egg in his mind, literally. Thinking that he's free because he sees the clouds and the same sky that I see. Now, of course, the eagle is a metaphor. It's an allegory. But it's not much different than the energetic fingerprint that's inside of us, the soul. We are also the eagle, thinking that we're free and flying high above all of eternity, or walking down it. So it begs the question, if I'm trapped in the prison of my mind, are these clouds real? Is this path that I'm walking real? Is this little cigarello that I'm about to light on my finger real? Or is this a figment of my imagination trying to escape the reality of being trapped in my mind, in the cage that someone else put me there? Eventually, one day, I'll find out the true meaning of freedom, and so will the eagle. The tree is going to keep distracting him however he can to ensure he doesn't think about his actual reality, the true existence of where he is. Because much like me, I would imagine the eagle will feel trapped and caged. And for every leaf that falls off of the tree, as the seasons change and time goes on, eventually that sentence will end. That egg will crack, and the eagle will be free, and so will I. Which begs the next question. What will we be free to do then? And what will be the existence that will make us truly free?